In a glass of some sort. I think it's opal. And yeah, when you get the nights here, you can surely shine it on here, and you can really see. It's better.
Where did you find it?
I was just over there, all along here. There's a volcano up there called Mount Curry. We're along the shore of St. John River, and the Lower River Valley of Fredericton.
Have you guys named the place? Have you named it?
Yeah, Tent City.
So when I was living in Toronto in 2000, they had a place called Tent City, but it was actually made of shacks. Why? Is that the name you guys have called it, or is that because the press called it that?
I think they just came up with it. Probably the press and them, a little bit of both, because they get moved around time to time with politics and different things, whatnot.
How does it feel being on a public walkway and people seeing you all the time?
No, I don't mind it anymore. At first, it was kind of, your integrity and all that was challenged a bit. Your morality was questionable to them, you thought, but really it isn't. It's just you're a human being, you're trying to survive, and it's what it is.
Yeah, we need harm reduction, don't we?
Yeah.
We need safe injection sites, and we need more needle exchange.
Yeah, we do.
I think people think that people are just going to stop doing drugs, but life is so complicated and so stressful. People are doing sugar, people are doing nicotine, people are doing booze, people are doing harder drugs, right?
It's good to have an injection site, that's for sure.
I saw a cartoon, and it said that a bar is simply a managed consumption site.
Yeah,
think about
that's what it is.
Okay, you go in, the guy gives you a shot, measures it for you.
Yeah.
If you get drunk, he calls a cab. So.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we believe in managing certain types of consumption and not other kinds.
Yep.
I don't know.
No, that's true. You're right.
I've been involved in this scene for over 4 years, and I haven't seen much change, to be honest. Not much change at all.
I've been looking for love since I was born. I was caught in the eye of the storm. Far away, far away, far away, far away. Don't let your sorrow weigh you down. Far away, far away, far away, far away, far away from the eye of the storm.
This is some of the most valuable real estate in North America. And despite a continuing problem with homelessness in Toronto, development along the lakeshore continues at an unprecedented rate. And it stops here, a 24-acre plot of toxic landfill, where until a couple of years ago, a community of squatters had built a shantytown known as Tent City. After their eviction in 2002, nothing remains of Tent City except the stories of these rugged and often troubled people who now adjust to life in mainstream housing. In 2001, the homeless population in Toronto had outgrown the hostile system by several thousand. Ever resourceful, the homeless were now occupying places we had never imagined they could live.
We have another camp.
This is a very interesting... I just need to get a shot of this. This is very cool. It's like a bamboo jungle in here.
Beavers living at it.
What's that?
The beavers living at it. That used to be my bedroom, right there. Used to be a house right there. And so did this. For our fireplace. You can see our fire brick right there. Where we built our fireplace. Used to be a good place at one time. It's pretty messy.
Butch used to say that this was one of the nicest places he lived since prison, and I was surprised that even before building permanent homes, they had built an altar.
We don't profess faith or religion.
In the previous winter of 2000, others in Tent City had been given Duracit huts by the Toronto Disaster Relief Committee. Randy called these his condos on the lake, but their arrival in the winter of that year was so media-worthy that Home Depot, owners of the land, held off evicting the squatters, and these huts may be the only reason Tent City existed in 2001.
People say? Well, they told me, well, is it movable? I said, yeah, you put 2 beams underneath it and we move it. I go to job sites, like I work construction all my life.
Still, the threat of evictions remained, and Tent City grew.
5 city inspectors come down and inspect this house, eh?
Seriously, what do they say?
He's gonna say nothing.
They could even make a living from the toxic soil, selling antique bottles.
I got a beer coming here, brother.
This is all an old city dump where they came from.
What year was the dump?
14 on the one side and 08 on the other side. That's when they closed. Some soil we have to go 35 feet, some soil we have to go 15 feet, and some soil it's like, 4 feet and it's giddy up.
Yeah. See, they're going to do a studio for making films.
Yeah, another one.
On the waterfront where we are. It's going to cost them 150 million and employ 2,500 people. So I won't get a job. Not even as caretaker.
I originally met Brian in the summer of 2001, but caught up with him again in the winter. Now he lived in the front of Tent City. He had moved because there was too much crack use going on in the back end.
Your pockets. I kidnapped the police in Ottawa.
What?
I had them all chasing me. I had one cop beside me here, right here, he's driving. As you get on that phone, you tell him back off. No secret, or family jewels are going. So I got out of the car, because the cop wanted to talk to me, the chief of police wanted to talk to me. I got out, he says, put your gun on top of the car. I says, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put my gun there if you take that gun out from your boot and put it up there. And one cop stuck his head up. That's how I knew there's another cop there. Other than that, I never knew. He says, you know, if we made a move, we're gone.
What were you doing?
I robbed this here bar. Because I changed. I don't know if I changed for the good or the worse.
I'm going to ARF. I'm going to some kind of program. I'm going to find out tomorrow when I start.
Since the first time I met Eddie, he has always talked about going to rehab, but he never has. He had killed a couple of diddlers in prison, and I remember thinking to myself, maybe he needs to medicate those memories.
71, I got a murder beef, and then in 75, some guy was raping a kid, and I ended up stabbing him 41 times. I ended up with 17 and a half years. It doesn't mean that I'm right in what I did,
Right.
but that's the way it went. I like me better now than I did then. How's that? I'm more of a... I like people more, and I like me, so, you know.
Eddie is a friend, but a classic crackhead, loyal and caring when straight, and driven by an insatiable urge when high that compels him to do unsavory acts.
Ran into cocaine.
When are the best times to actually, find a loaded car?
Thursday, Friday night.
Why?
Anywhere between 8 and 10 o'clock, since people are going in for supper and they leave their stuff out in the car. Or if it's a rainy night and they come home at night, they won't take their stuff out because it's raining and they don't want to take it wet.
Just as long as the sharp edge touches the window's history.
I want to see this.
Rainy night's the best night. You wear your fucking slicker and away you go. Or a snowy night. And the other best time is Sunday mornings. Because when they go up to go into the church, the women always stuff their purses in front of the seat because they don't want to take the money and put it in the box.
Terry had a variety of tools up his sleeve, and he preferred honest work to crime, but could rarely get honest work. So he adapted.
Whoa, wrong end. Yeah, because you want the copper is what you want. Because you can only get up so high, and I was walking along. See that bottom flat piece?
Yeah.
I was walking along there all the way
Seriously?
around. Oh yeah, hanging on with one hand, walking along, pulling it off.
Terry and Eddie often faced hazardous conditions to eke an existence from scrap, and in the time I've known them, they have never begged. It's amazing how hard these guys work to make $30 or $40 a day, and I sometimes think it wasn't about the money, but perhaps about keeping themselves otherwise occupied.
I did. Let's see what happened, man. Are you cut?
No, just smack my elbow. Right, because that's heavy copper in there. There's, about 22 a pound, 30 pounds, about $42. Which, I mean, you know, 42 bucks to some people isn't much, but for me, it keeps me going for 3-4 days.
In the winter of 2002, while homeless people died on the streets of Toronto or suffered the iniquities of an overburdened hostile system, folks in Tent City fared well. They were warm. They helped each other out.
Then one night my dad caught me coming back in my window. He was sitting in my room. Did I ever fucking get a beating? Oh my God. But it never helped. I did it over and over and over again all the time. Then I started doing drugs at an early age.
What kind of drug?
I started just doing pot at first, and then it just got heavier and heavier. And I got into cocaine and speed and you fucking name it. So when I started doing heavy chemicals, I started stealing more and doing a lot of crime, eh? Then I ended up selling drugs. I did 18 months for that. It's only maybe once or twice a week now, eh? Which is fucking amazing for me because I used to go all the time. Toronto never sleeps.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's always tricks out on the street, always.
Right.
I like it down here, I really do. And if it comes to the point where they're gonna kick us out of here, I want to take my house with me. We've built it to be moved.
Pivotal moments happen in everyone's life, but for a tiny community, the special events of one person's life can greatly affect the whole.
Stop by just to say hi, to make an appearance. I sure as fuck ain't gonna help them. I don't believe in it.
I don't think it's about the church. I think it's just about them having a place to
make it look more like a community. Wait till the first kid's born down here.
When's that happening?
A few months.
Who's pregnant?
Shannon with Danny, and then Karen with me.
Before we stopped smoking, we didn't really care about this house.
I remember Shannon as one of the squeegee kids downtown. She looked frantic and crazed most of the time.
Smoking, we've been clean 4.5 months. I'm proud. I really am. But I'm still not on my own. Like, I'm in transitional housing. Last time I spoke to my father when I was pregnant with my son, I told him I was pregnant. He called me a fool and hung up the phone. That's the last time I spoke to him. Basically, my mother was never around. All I cared about was my next toke. That's all I cared about. When I squeegeed for my dope. I'd make 20 bucks and go get 20 piece. Make 20 bucks, go get 20 piece. Make 20. In 5 years, right now I want to go back to high school and finish my grade 12. I got 7 credits to finish, and then I want to go to college.
What do you want to study?
You know what? Childcare.
You get a chance to talk to them. That will be something to see them have a baby here.
Yeah. And then it becomes a community.
And then it's, you know.
Then they're really fucked out in the city. Then they have to help.
Or not.
Well, supposedly
With the population growing at Tent City and a number of crack dealers moving in, Brian found it very difficult to remain anonymous. So he moved.
Or if I have to, find an apartment for myself, pay $500, $550, maybe $600 a month, I'll do it. I get $930 a month. You don't starve in this city. There's no way of starving in this city.
There's food everywhere.
Sure there is.
So, not being down here, does it change your the way your outlook on stuff, or what?
No, they're not the way the people are down here. No, it hasn't changed my outlook on people down here at all, right? It's just that I'm not coming back down here.
The last straw in the demise of Tent City was an errant report by the New York Times. So tell me a little bit about this New York Times article and what that...
I don't know it. I haven't even read it.
You haven't read it? You read it though, didn't you?
No, I haven't. We just got it about like
So why do you think they came here?
I told you why they came here. They
No, you
wanted
didn't.
to see how our fucking homelessness was going on in Toronto.
You turn around, you put a guy in an apartment, and he's a crackhead. You put him in an apartment. At the end of the month, when he gets his check, 95% of the crackheads aren't going to pay their rent.
Right. So then the problem isn't not having a home, it's crack or whatever they're hooked on.
No, because imagine if they give all of us here homes and they put us all together. Then we're gonna be slummed out.
So tell me what you think then.
You have to separate us. You got to take us and put it. If you're getting us a place to live away from everybody, everybody's gonna go individually in a little spot. You can't. Someone's gonna get hurt down here.
But somebody's already been hurt, haven't they?
No, I'm just saying for the people that really need to be here, that's wrong. When fucking crack dealers being here.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be for someone who really needs to be here. That's nowhere else to go. I haven't had it, and I'll say it's wrong.
Fondest day? Burning copper. Just sitting down here doing nothing, nobody to worry about. After a day out scavenging copper and stuff, and just coming back and sitting there burning it. I loved it. I do it all the time.
What was your worst memory?
The day they come down and kick me out. It's the way they did it.
Read my leaves. Don't be afraid to show me what you see. Look into your crystal ball. Tell me if there's any light at all. I'm a man.
The mayor just did a press conference saying that there are 200 shelter beds in the city, and he's got to be talking about another planet.
Dry, one of the first residents of Tent City, explains their surprise at the abrupt evictions. After Home Depot, the owners of the land, had let them live there for so long.
Given us an opportunity to first of all, collect our personal belongings and arrange for at least some other place to go. They had accepted the situation, and there was no problem with it. Basically, it's an empty lot. How much damage can a bunch of hippies do to an empty lot?
Well, this was a symbol of how bad things were, and it was just a matter of time before it was closed down. But there were communities here, and there were problems here. And until we do something about the housing situation, that's what we're facing, and things are going to get worse, but most people are living in their glass houses. They don't really realize it.
There was so much public outrage at the evictions that the City of Toronto introduced a rent supplement program for the residents of Tent City. And in short order, 105 people with long histories of drug abuse, incarceration, and life on the streets found themselves in mainstream housing.
Just tell them that shows you that all the stories you heard about people at Tent City, they're not all that bad. Look where they are right now. Here they are.
I guess you're saying they could be your neighbors.
That's right, and we are their neighbors. It's unbelievable.
What is?
So, whole complex. Look at the fields. You don't see this uptown, do you? Down Sugar and Dundas? Look at the grounds. Better than Moss Park.
What's your last memory of downtown?
Walking out of it. Walking out of it. Coming here.
What did you like about Tent City? Just because it was free?
No, the trees. It was nice and shady down there. The breeze, and you look out and you can see at nighttime, right? The lights and all that. Can't even see CN Tower from here. And I'm mad over that.
The most important success that people had and the goal that they were able to achieve through being in the program is that they were able to know on every single night on a regular basis where they were sleeping, and that's something that had not been necessarily part of their history or previous experience. The average length of time people spent on the street prior to moving into Tent City was 8.5 years. Other individuals who lived in Tent City had spent 25 years on the street. So to go from a life on the street to becoming permanently housed and knowing where you're going to sleep every night and being able to purchase food in your refrigerator, have a refrigerator, have a bed to sleep in is in fact a success. So I think the first 1 or 2 years, those are the kinds of successes people were having.
And there may have been other benefits to being housed besides a reduction in his drug use. Even early in his housing, Eddie seemed calmer and reflective, as if being housed were a balm to his mental health. And after losing his second child to the CAS, Eddie seemed well on his way to confronting his pain.
It's okay, buddy. It's nice. I don't know. Someday I'll sit and talk to you. But I ain't. I'm the uncaring, unfeeling, whatever I am. Just addict. Don't care, don't feel about nothing. Nobody, nowhere. Anyways. Oh, wow.
But only a few months later, in his new apartment on Queen Street, Eddie was right back into it. I guess pain travels as well.
Some people are concerned about the idea that people who may have addictions are getting public money for rent. I would suggest to them that even if they morally think that people shouldn't drink and all the rest, that society's going to be better off if we look after people and we ensure that people have more and more stability.
Why I do it, not why other people do it. I smoke because it makes me not hurt, not feel, not care about nothing. It takes me away.
I'm out of here.
If they really do want some people to get off of drugs, they're not going to get off of drugs and drinking on the street. The stressors are so high that it's so unlikely, so that what they're saying is basically they're giving this person either a death sentence, and they're giving the rest of us a lot of trouble and expense, putting people into prisons and hospitals and all the rest when people are so hurt in the street. So I would just say if they want people off of drugs, they want some chance of people getting off drugs, they're going to have to provide some housing and some stability. That's real life.
I feel fabulous. I mean, I'm very, compared to the last time you saw me, Eric, don't I look better and look happier than I did down there?
The other thing is that in reality, adults and their patterns might be very well established as adults, and that means addictions in some cases. And it's been, most studies are saying, well, not everybody is going to get off of drugs. So let's, bite the bullet and say, is that all we want from a human being, is whether they're an addict or they're not?
I made a big difference from Tent City to where I am today. A lot big difference. I got a lot of good friends up here. I can go over to the barbershop, get free haircuts anytime I want. What is normal? People always use that word, normal. Are you normal? What the hell is normal? What is normal?
Eddie says it's a cycle on a laundry machine.
Well, Eddie is a cycle. Eddie is a cycle on a wash machine anyways. I don't know what normal is. I think I'm normal anyways. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. I feel normal. I feel human anyways. I feel a lot better. I feel 100% better today.
Well, first of all, the Tent City housing win was so historic that people are talking about it all across the country. It kind of discredited, the myth that homeless people don't want housing. And I mean, it's so concrete, right? People are flushing toilets and cooking and doing things, opening doors, they have keys. So, for me, initially, I was kind of excited by some of the stories, so-and-so going to George Brown to school, or someone else getting a job at, a health center, and that's all really exciting, right? I mean, Drive, for example, is now on the steering committee of Toronto Disaster Relief Committee. Some people have connected up with their families, so there are wonderful stories. I think if people still have their housing or have moved into another place, if they were initially not in a good apartment, that's great. But then I think, in a way, the most important thing is they're still alive. To me, it's not about, me wanting them to get a B+ in some course they're taking somewhere, because a lot of people died during that period, Brian.
I mean, I think that we have to regard housing as an issue in the same fashion as we look at health care.
What do we need in this city?
It's not rehab. We've got too much rehab already.
I mean, a lot of you guys have been housed, and not much has changed.
Yes, a lot of things have changed.
Like what?
Rehab. I don't use as much now as I ever used. I used before in Tent City. I felt more freer. Now I'm more paranoid because I might lose something. So I don't do it as much. Or as freely, put it that way. As much as in the open. No, the program worked out good, man. We all got housing. When you get housing, you get more pride. I'm proud of what I have. I want to keep it, and I don't want to take a chance of losing it. So I don't use drugs as much.
Yeah, you can even weigh it. Yeah. Oh, fuck.
So what do you say to people who say, yeah, but we're paying their rent?
What do you mean?
What do you say to people out there?
paying my rent.
Well, somebody's paying a rent.
How they paying the rent?
Where's the money coming from?
From our fucking sweat and blood and whatever the fuck we went through. We're human too.
Explain that to me.
I've had honest jobs.
Okay, we have medical problems. We have medical disabilities. So even if we didn't smoke, we're still gonna get our fucking rent paid. So you're not paying anything extra for what we do. What we do here, we earn ourselves, and that's why I get pissed at people.
You want one of these? They're not chocolate.
No, that's enough candy. That's enough candy. I've had too.
Yeah, nobody's supporting my habit. Like if I wasn't fucking medically fucking like with the legs all fucked up and that, then I wouldn't be getting fucking welfare.
I chocolate.
I'm getting even if I'm on welfare and I wasn't smoking, I'd still get the same amount of money. So you're not fucking paying for none of my habits. I pay for my own habits. And I hate fucking you. Oh, we're helping you smoke. We're helping you drink. You're not helping us do fuck all. We do it anyways. This stops me from stealing, so you're keeping people out of jail. Oh, yes. Okay. Let's get her scattered. Let's go. You ready?
Start to remove the pain, and you'll start to remove a lot of the serious addictions. And will there always be addictions? I don't know. There'll always be patterns, ways in which people deal with things. Things can be a lot better, and I would suggest we all get together and make things a lot better for people.
I make sure my house is clean, my laundry's done, I pay my bills, my food is bought every month, and I have 2 kitties. They're hiding somewhere. I have 2 cats, very, very well behaved cats. Yeah, I got fish too. Once in a while, like I'm seeing a drug counselor right now, and it's only maybe once or twice a month now that I smoke, right? I don't think I will totally be cured of being a crackhead. And it's scary to think that way, but it's true. I don't have to hook anymore. I don't have to beg for money anymore. And I'm happy. Like, I'm very happy to be where I'm at today because thanks to housing, here I am, and I'm doing really, really well. Mentally and physically, I'm not able to work because of all the abuse and stuff that I had to put up with when I was growing up on the street and stuff. But I am responsible now for what's going on, and I'm happy that I have housing. Because if it wasn't for this housing, I don't know where I'd be right now.
He does look peaceful.
See you, buddy. What about Eddie? Eddie could be alive today if he wasn't doing crack.
Yeah.
Eddie was in so much pain that he smoked crack every day.
Kill the pain, I know. I get in pain too, my arthritis and that a lot of times too. But that's not the reason I smoke. I smoke to lose myself.
But that's what he said too, exactly the same words. He smokes to lose himself.
Yeah.
Why do you want to lose yourself, Pop?
Because you don't want your memories, too many memories back. That's just one. The past is the past. You can never, ever live the past.
So why do they, are you saying your memories come back to haunt you?
Sometimes.
And so smoking crack relieves that for you?
Relieves a lot, yeah. Relieves a lot, yeah. Sure it did. Eddie was right. Eddie's absolutely right. It was too bad that he had to... Too bad he had to go that way, though. You know, it's... that's not the way I wanted to ever see Eddie go. I never ever dreamed that Eddie would go that way. I figured that Eddie would get to the age and go to bed at nighttime, and that's it, 'cause that's the way I want to do it. Just go to bed at nighttime, and I'll wake up the next day.
You remember what happened to Eddie when he was in Kingston? You know, his family brought all the articles, all the newspaper articles to the wake, and the pictures of him when he was young. So when you think about Eddie, how do you remember him? Would you rather remember him back in the days of Kingston, or would you rather remember him back in the days of Tent City? What's better for you?
I remember Eddie when he was younger, you know, and played ball and all that shit together in the pen and all that, right? That's the way I remember Eddie. He liked the good times.
Did Eddie die because he was homeless, or did he die because he had a drug problem that couldn't be cured?
Eddie died, yeah, because of the drug problem he had that couldn't be cured. I told Eddie when I lived on Coxwell, and I told him then this, Eddie, slow down, quit.
What was that?
Those two good little chairs.
So what was your score for tonight?
Eh? How much did I make all together tonight? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 50.
And it looks really nice in here. I'm very proud of myself because I've taken care of I've maintained my household, right? You know, like getting housing is one thing. Maintaining and keeping it is another thing. I am changing, but the change is slow. People don't understand like how difficult it is to try to stay clean.
Why do you think you still fall off, even though you've been...
Because I'm an addict.
Bonnie was never an addict, and now housed, she works again as a harm reduction worker in Toronto. She's a proponent of alternative forms of housing.
In the winter that I was here, 40 people that were all struggling managed to, not always as functionally as we might hope, but a lot better than most people thought, gain some self-respect by building themselves their own places to live with the help of their friends. I think, and I believe, that if someone ponied up or allowed to lease the land, I believe that we could build something like Dignity Village in the US, where it's a green, sustainable village that was built by homeless people over the course of 5 years who had a vision and a dream that we could not have because we had no legal entitlement.
Hi Eric, my name is Brad Powell. I'm chairman here at Dignity Village, and we're located in Portland, Oregon. And we're the only city-sanctioned homeless community in the world.
Why are you one of the only city-sanctioned homeless communities?
Well, basically we started out underneath the Fremont Bridge, and it was just a group of protesters that got tired of getting kicked out of the doorways by the police and herded like cattle, told they couldn't stay places, and they just got fed up with it, and they said, we are the public and this is public land, why can't we stay here? And the city of Portland kind of agreed that they had a right to live somewhere. There was no solution to the homeless problem. They found a loophole in the Oregon state law that said that we could have 2 emergency campgrounds per municipality or per city. The first rule is no violence to yourself or others. The second one is no theft. Those two we have zero tolerance on. If you get in a fight, the first person to throw the punch it's an automatic ejection. We have some other rules that we go by. No drugs or alcohol within a 1-block area. So we say anywhere on Sunderland Road.
So no personal use in your own room or anything?
Well, we can't monitor that because we don't search at the gate. There's, people have rights, and that's one of their rights here in the United States of America, is privacy of your own home. Yeah, and I have PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome.
From?
Just being homeless or just from life. And I have a hard time, talking about Noah's Ark.
Okay.
It's the guy's last page. But I've contacted most of the past chairman, and especially Jack Tafari, the one that started this whole movement. And I thanked him for the opportunity to change the world. a lot of people don't get to do.
There's a lot of pain, right? A lot of pain.
But I can see that, you know, I have a chance to show the world a different way to do things. And a lot of people here don't even see that, you know.
Yeah.
Well, my door has a flag on it. My wall has a flag on it. I got a flag here. I'm a pretty good. I'm a patriot. You know, I don't believe that I'll go anywhere else and kill people for us. But damn sure if they're going to come here.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, I'll be the first one to pick up a rock and a stick and fight like a caveman. I don't care.
I can see you fighting like a caveman.
I tell everybody when they get here, they're like, oh, this is so great. This is so great. I said, there will be a time that comes that you will regret and dread going out of the gate.
And do you feel that way?
Not anymore, but I did for a long time.
Because this became so...
This became everything, and that's the way the psychological part of it works.
And so you think in that process of it becoming everything, you become more whole yourself, and then you can go out again?
Yeah, it definitely fixes the way you think.
I'm still homeless.
But what? You have a house.
I'm technically homeless.
According to whom?
The city, the state, the federal government.
But what about in your state of mind?
Homelessness is a state of mind. Hard, you know, the home is where the heart is, and so you're never without a home.
Well, what bothers me now is, well, when I was 12, I was kidnapped for 11 months, and every heinous crime that could possibly happen to a small child happened. I was kept in a closet. I was slid plates of food maybe 3 or 4 times a week under the door. I was taken out and abused. I'm very claustrophobic. Stuff that I'm learning to deal with.
What did they do at your classes? What kind of the mental health?
They didn't just hurt me by kicking me out and keeping me away from my wife. They hurt me because they put me back here.
You could say one thing to people outside of this world, in my world, about the potential for such places. Do you think that what you guys started there 10 years ago can be adopted in other cities, or it should be?
I think it should be adopted in other cities where the government should give people a chance to redeem themselves. It used to be you commit a crime, you pay just dues for it by community service, going to jail, prison, or whatever, and you can get back into the flow of society. We become an unforgiving nation where we don't forgive easily. We hold people down from being progressive. And this is a way for people to get their self-esteem, their motivation, their scruples, and their principles back together into being somebody. Now, this is what happens when you know your constitutional rights. You can achieve this because nobody above their constitutional rights, and you can do that. But you have to do it and think of everybody, not just yourself and one individual, but everybody. And it should be done, and it can be done, and it will be done, or this country and all countries like this is going to fail.
The guy who does this weaving of the palm, pretty pro. As you can see, there's no shortage of the gospel here.
That's a bachelor pad, man.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a shame you got to move it.
I know, right?
Because this is like one of the. I've been looking at camps for about 14 years now, and this might be the primest location I've ever seen. If there was,
Besides that, if you get attacked, you're
you're safe.
cover on 3 sides.
You didn't have kids or anything?
I had 2 daughters. They're dead now, though.
What happened to them?
They got burnt in the fire. My wife was smoking crack cocaine. Place got caught in fire.
That's when you were working at the factory?
Yeah.
You're about 19 or so?
Yeah.
You remember that, Brian?
Yeah.
That's when you were working at the factory? Tell me. When you look at that, how does that make you feel? When you look at that
To see me on there?
Well, not just to see that to see that you.
Well, it's, you know, it's some memories that I like to just forget, right? You know, I'm moving on in life. Some things I like. I've been seen knives pulled on me, I've had guns pulled on me, I've fought, I've been knocked out, I've won, I've lost, but never scared me till cancer. I was terrified. Okay, I'm okay with it.
Can you tell me a little more?
Look at that though. That's I could not know. That looked ugly. That all it did, that only looked ugly. That's where I was shot.
That's where you were shot?
That's where I told people that's where I was shot.
You had lung cancer, you said.
I know. But I told people I was shot there. So you know that's true.
And did I tell this fairly? I didn't need to talk about it. It's self-explanatory.
Self-explanatory, yeah. That's when I got my certificate for going to the church, entering the church.
It was a big day for you.
That was a big day for me, yeah. I'm a sad wearing and sad wearing jacket for all the years they've been stuck in with me and through the hard times. Not really forgotten.
What does God mean to you?
Peace of mind. Peace of mind. Peace of mind.
How does that work out?
How does that work out? You have peace of mind.
Old hospital.
What are we looking at here?
Well, basically the gap between the old hospital, all this here conglomerated together, and that the shelter with the steam coming out of there, the water steam, right down there, down the center, right where the gates are up now. They got it all fenced in with steel, galvanized steel or whatever.
So how important is it to be close to these places?
Well, if you're on the street, it's actually really important. It gives you a place to rest and try to keep warm. And during the summer months, you notice that they would try to prepare for the winter. As the season would change, so would your hut, your tent, or whatever you were.
Is it warm for you?
It is now. It used to be cold.
Do you mind?
Yeah, go ahead. There's still mind the friggin' mess. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, go ahead. Hey, look inside there, man.
Oh yeah, you need this insulation.
Oh yeah, big time. Oh, it's cold at night, man. You get like minus 25, minus 30 probably
Big
eventually.
storm's coming tomorrow night. Tuesday.
Is it tomorrow?
Yeah, that's why I came today.
It's gonna be bad. That's what I thought. I thought let it snow, because it'll help insulate.
Does it?
That's what it is. Oh, it's an insulator. Absolutely, snow is an insulator, just like insulation, as long as you know how to use it right? So I figured as long as it'll embank everything, I'll let it even go and help get a shovel and embank the screen, because I have a screen here. So I try to cover it as much as possible. Keep the wind out, eh? Yeah, we're like a big family, really. That's how a lot of us refer to it as, and that family is overrated sometimes. I say I love my family, but some people don't have families. Like, you know, some of them are orphans or whatever they were during their life.
We brought coats and hats and mittens, blankets.
So today we decided to bring in coffee and donuts.
A treat.
What do we want to do about the fact that we need tent spaces like this?
We need to get the people off the street, because there's a lot of veterans out there. Build them some small homes that will handle them.
You just built a place in Calgary, did you know?
And they did a beautiful job of it.
You also hear it's not my responsibility. Well, it is our responsibility as Canadian citizens to look out for one another. And one time when we were here, I found that everybody, the majority of the people that we met, were trying to tell me excuses of why they got here, how they happened to be here. It doesn't matter. You're here and you need our support.
I think there is room for tiny homes in the Maritimes, in our big cities. So they do exist everywhere as you go, and they're specifically in rural areas or places that are set a little bit out of the way. But there's no reason that Fredericton or St. John or Moncton or Bathurst, wherever you want to look within the city, within the province, Miramichi, we can build tiny homes. I think the issue that people are leery of is creating those community spaces, a tiny home community, and having it turn into maybe some of the low rental communities that that were constructed in the 80s. And then in turn, poverty breeds more poverty, and it's that they feel they're creating a space that doesn't allow people to rise above or move out. A lot of people fight and are they speak very loudly and almost bully the communities and the cities to say these people should be allowed to sleep outside if they want to sleep outside. These people deserve more than sleeping rough and sleeping in a tent. They deserve a place to call their own that isn't a tent, that isn't a place where they don't feel safe or they can be affected by the elements. So a tiny home community, if that's what that means, then I can't see a reason not to build it, provided that it's done the right way. It's handled through an organization or a community organization that has ties to the city, that has ties to wraparound services in other areas, so that we're not just building a house, we're offering them supports and helping them through those.
You're suggesting that we do what places like Calgary just did with Homes for Heroes?
100%.
Yes, I lived in what became Tent City here in Moncton on Albert Street. And Chris and I had gone for a walk, and I said, I think we need to go home. And he just kind of stops. He's like, you're in Ontario, you are home. I'm like, oh no. We started something in the East Coast and I need to go back. So we ended up coming back to Moncton and staying at a B&B here in the city. Well, that just went completely sour in the end. And as a result, we ended up at the cold shelter, which is at the old fire hall down on Assumption here in Moncton. In a way, that was a godsend, because inside those doors, I met some incredibly awesome people. And being in a relationship too, being homeless is a struggle in itself. And sometimes that's your only last piece of safety and security, is that person that you're with. And they were so kind that even though there was a curtain separating the two sections, they allowed my bed to be right in front of my partner's bed. So we might have had a curtain there, but I knew he was there. My partner's my caregiver because I'm an amputee. I've been an amputee since I was 11. I was diagnosed with cancer at 11. 2 days after my birthday, I had my left leg amputated. And at the age of 13, I had the lower lobe of my right lung also removed due to a reoccurrence of the cancer. Out of the cold shelter closed, and we went to the Harvest House. And my partner and I had when the night in question when my partner got kicked out, he got outed in front of the room full of people, and I'm not so quiet. So I was just like, well, if I wanted to fight this, he is my caregiver. Like a service dog, he can be at my side whenever I need him to be. But they kicked him out nonetheless, and I went along with them. And while we were out that night, I told him, that's where I first told him that I think that we should pitch a tent. He still wasn't convinced after the week that the tent was a great idea even. And he's like, well, where are we gonna take this tent? I'm like, well, we're gonna go where you said you had been in a tent before. And he's like, but Shannon, it's like full of garbage. We're like, we'll make do. We'll just make do. One of the workers from Selva's clinic heard that I was down there, and she's like, is there anything that you need or anything? I'm like, there's something that I need today. And she's like, okay. I'm like, I need garbage bags and rakes. And she's like, Shannon, that isn't what I was like referring to. I'm like, well, that's what I need today. And she's like, well, why? I'm like, well, if I'm gonna stay here, I need the city to not kick me out. And if the way for me to do that right now is for me to clean up this plot of land that I plan on just occupying and monopolizing as my own for right now. And she's like, all right. And then before we knew it, there was a dumpster and a backhoe and an excavator clearing the land. And the city of Moncton was, with bylaw, they had made some rules and regulations, and we had 24-hour security, and more people could come and pitch tents. And so I saw a vision of it. This was like definitely like a helping community. And so I just went with it. It just became a bigger voice. I thought, okay, I did this for myself. There's other people here now. Now we can just, if we can all just work together for the common cause of everybody getting into a place, then maybe it'll work out. I don't refer to the campsites as being camps. I prefer to recognize them as communities, because whether or not society wants to agree or not, those on the street, we all come from different walks of life. We are definitely many demographics summed into one, and we created a community in Tent City. For the most part, majority of us on the daily, we had a group of people that would go get water, and the water would be delivered from tent to tent. If a group of people were going, let's say, to Humanity Project or to any other soup kitchen to eat, those people who were going would always bring back food for those who weren't going or couldn't go. There was days with using crutches that I just couldn't go. It wasn't even a matter of not wanting to. It was a matter of fact that I couldn't. I was just too sore to go anywhere. And I was lucky enough that I was in a community where I did make some friends.
So we just went for a drive and tried to find evidence of any of the camps, and there's
none.
They're completely swept away.
Yeah, I was there the day they closed it. When I became a voice for Tent City, it wasn't just because my partner and I were homeless and that we needed something concrete. And when I say concrete, I mean something that is regulated, that we can stay there. I didn't want somebody to come in tomorrow and say, well, you got to move your tent today. So when the city of Moncton agreed and bylaw came with their rules and regulations, sure, some frowned upon it because some just aren't down for it, but at the end of the day, Canada wouldn't be where it is if we didn't have structure and we didn't have rules. So, and I always saw Tent City as being a step up from homelessness, where like I said, they might only be canvas walls, but they're your walls. So you have your belongings, your life is conducted inside those canvas walls, which already gives you the mindset that you have your own place. And so I always view Tent City as being like that transition from going from homelessness into having having a home. I love tiny homes. They're so shabby chic. They are. And you can do so much with a small space. With a mother as an interior designer in my whole entire life, hearing, Shannon, you gotta make sure you use every square inch of space. You can never have wasted space. So, like, even in one of our first homes, the walls were curved, so we wouldn't have corners for my sister and I to pile our stuff in and stuff. I believe that tiny homes, and it'll bring a sense of community. And they're I don't know, it's kind of like a cupcake. You look at a cupcake, it's a lot more joyous to look at than a full cake. And I think to me, it's just the tiniest of it. It's individual, it's personal.
You get to eat the whole thing.
Right? And in a tiny home, it's your space. And if you are just one person, like we have condos, especially downtown Toronto, like $500,000 condos that aren't much bigger than a postage stamp. And people are paying $500,000 for that. I bet you might could build your whole tiny home community for less than $500,000. I think what's preventing tiny home communities from being erected in New Brunswick isn't the fact that they're not seen as a necessity. It's the fact that maybe there's just not enough knowledge about them. The epidemic of homelessness is increasing, and they just haven't been explored enough. And I think if the idea was presented, and you could be so creative with the smallest, I don't know, I dig the whole small space. So
if we don't spend money on tiny homes and as a type of affordable
housing,
we're
then
going to spend $80,000 a year on emergency services for everybody.
it's exactly what's going to happen. As it is now, Tent City in Moncton got shut down, and so you see all these other mini makeshift tent sites being popped up, and the same people who were coming so hard to help us out with that tent city are now going all over the city. So whether it be social workers, or whether it be garbage removal, or whether it be the RCMP, all this manpower is still being utilized. So me being a past resident of Tent City and knowing some of the estimates that have been brought into the public, it makes me question that you're still putting out that kind of money. So why not invest that money into something good, like a tiny home community? And it's phenomenal once you get on the streets and you start meeting people, how many trades you guys all have together, and as a group, you could build a house. A group of people on the street that I've met could build a house in probably less time than that shelter is taken to open.
The things that we learned through the Out of the Cold shelter, through listening to individuals who stayed at the tent site on Albert Street, and even in my outreach days going to actual tent sites, is everyone's looking for a place to belong. They're looking for a place to feel safe and for people around them to not marginalize them. So when we're talking about housing, it has to be, a conversation has to be more than just the roof over the head. We need to turn it into a home.
Yeah, meth and snorting it and doing ice and stuff and different things.
How realistically is it for you to get off it if you want to get off it?
If you want to get off it, you will.
And do you really want to?
Oh yeah, I do. I do now, more than ever. I couldn't tell you if it's going to be a success or not, but I tell you, if I don't do it here soon, I'm just going to miss everything. It'll all pass me by.
Well, I'm glad I met you, and I'm glad you had that cool rock, because it was a really good opportunity for us. Let's see it again.
Yeah.
I honestly, I don't know what it is, but it's beautiful. It's got so many different pieces of different. Looks like
you can say it's like igneous.
Volcanic glass,
oh, yeah,
and iron, and maybe even magnet. Look at that.
It can be opalized. Blue. It's blue. A lot of blue and green stuck together, almost like it was heated up blue diamonds turned green.
I really hope.
Or
you find what you're
vice
looking
versa.
for, man.
Yeah.
You know, I do.
think it's green turns blue. Yeah, heat treated.
I hope you find what you're looking for.
I should.
Never get ahead by going back. If I could see the future then, like I can see the future now, I know what I'd do again. I know what I'd do without. Every wrong road taken, I'd make it right somehow. If I could see the future then, like I can see the future now. If I could see the future then, like I can see the future now, I know what I'd do again. I know what I'd do without. Every wrong road taken, well, I was straightening right out. If I could see the future then, like I can see the future now.